We all have moments in our childhoods, moments when we feel a little different, a little out of place. For a young woman I met named Alara, that feeling was not just a moment, it was her whole world. As other children played with dolls and trucks, Alara would wrap herself in flowing scarves. She would gaze at her reflection, not with vanity, but with a strange sense of recognition, as if she were looking for someone else in her own eyes. She felt a pull toward things that were ancient, grand, and powerful, a feeling that her small-town life was just a temporary costume. This wasn't just a child's active imagination. Oh no, it was something much deeper. It was a soul memory, trying to push its way to the surface. As Alara grew into a teenager, the whispers from her past grew louder. They came to her most often in her dreams. Vivid, cinematic experiences that left her breathless. She would dream she was gliding down a wide, majestic river on an enormous golden barge. She felt the gentle rocking of the boat and the warm sun on her skin. She could hear the murmur of voices speaking a language she somehow understood. In these dreams, she was not Alara. She was powerful. She was revered. She was a queen. She would wake up with the distinct feeling of heavy jewelry on her wrists and the echo of a crown on her head. These visions began to spill into her waking hours. One day in history class, the teacher showed a slide of a bust of Cleopatra. The moment the image appeared on the screen, a jolt went through Alara's body. It was like seeing a photograph of herself. Not in the facial features exactly, but in the spirit. Adulthood brought a new sense of purpose for Alara. She worked and saved every penny she could. Her goal was singular and non-negotiable. She had to go to Egypt. She had to walk on the land she had only seen in her dreams. The day she finally booked her ticket, she wept with a sense of relief so profound it felt like she had been holding her breath for 25 years. This wasn't a vacation. This was a pilgrimage. The moment the plane descended over Cairo, her heart pounded in her chest. The air that hit her face when she stepped off the plane was different. It was warm, dusty, and alive with an energy that vibrated right through her. When she stood before the Great Sphinx, she didn't just see a monument. She felt its ancient wisdom. She reached out and touched the warm, weathered stone, and a jolt of energy shot up her arm. It was a moment of pure connection, a silent conversation across millennia. It was on a felucca, gliding down the Nile at sunset, that she had her most powerful experience yet. As the sky turned to brilliant orange and purple, mirroring the colors from her dreams, she closed her eyes. The gentle lapping of the water, the soft breeze, the distant call to prayer, it all blended together into a perfect symphony of memory. For a few perfect, crystalline moments, she was back. The next part of Alara's journey took her to the museums, the modern-day homes of ancient treasures. She walked through the halls of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, her heart aching with a strange and beautiful sorrow. These were not just artifacts to her. They were her belongings. She saw a golden necklace inlaid with lapis lazuli and felt the phantom weight of it on her neck. She stood before a display of ancient cosmetics, coal pots, perfume jars, and remembered the ritual of preparing for the day, using beauty as both armor and an expression of power. She arranged a meeting with a respected Egyptologist at the American University in Cairo. She was nervous, afraid of being dismissed as just another eccentric with a wild theory. She sat down with the professor, a woman with kind eyes and a sharp intellect, and she began to tell her story. She didn't just share her feelings, she shared the details. Specific names, political strategies, architectural details of palaces long gone. The professor listened patiently. She was struck by the historical accuracy of Alara's memories. The most profound moment came when she saw a collection of coins minted during Cleopatra's reign. There, stamped in silver, was the queen's profile. She stared at the image, her own reflection faintly visible on the glass case, and she saw the bridge between her two lives. She also met with a spiritual elder in Luxor, a woman who specialized in past life readings. The elder took one look at Alara, held her hands, and simply nodded. "The river remembers you," the woman said softly. "The queen has returned not to rule a nation, but to rule herself." Returning home, Alara was a changed woman. The quiet, uncertain person she had been was gone. In her place was a woman who walked with a newfound confidence, a woman who looked people directly in the eye, who spoke with authority and grace. Believing she was Cleopatra didn't make her arrogant. Instead, it gave her a deep sense of responsibility. She felt a duty to live with the same intelligence, courage, and resilience that she believed she had possessed in her past life. This transformation was not just internal. People around her noticed the change. Her colleagues at work saw a new leader emerge, a woman who was not afraid to share her ideas, to negotiate with strength, and to inspire her team. She embraced her unique story, sharing it with others not to boast, but to inspire. She would say, "We all have a powerful story inside of us. You just have to be brave enough to listen to it." Of course, there were still skeptics, people who would roll their eyes or whisper behind her back. But Alara was no longer affected by their disbelief. Her journey wasn't about convincing them, it was about convincing herself. Her confidence came not from external approval, but from a deep, unshakable core of self-knowledge. She started a small business, a jewelry line inspired by ancient Egyptian designs, and poured her creative visions into it. She was the master of her own destiny, the ruler of her own small but meaningful kingdom. Alara found her power by believing she was once a queen, and in doing so, she became the queen of her own life.